Welcome to the lecture on aerobic respiration. Metabolism is getting energy from substances by breaking them down. And in this course, when we talk about metabolism, we emphasize the metabolism of carbohydrates. In particular, we emphasize the metabolism of the simple sugar glucose. Of course, other biochemicals, such as fats and proteins, can also be metabolized too, but their metabolism piggybacks on some of the same processes that handle glucose. So, for the purposes of this class, we're just going to focus on glucose. And specifically, we're going to concentrate on aerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, glucose is completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water. However, it's broken down in a way that generates ATP. It's a multi-step process that generates ATP at certain steps. Many biochemical reactions are involved, and like most or all biochemical reactions, all of these reactions are catalyzed by enzymes. Remember that the energy currency of the cell is ATP. In other words, ATP is the immediate energy source for all cellular processes. So the whole point of glucose metabolism is to generate molecules of ATP. If we look at the many steps involved in aerobic respiration, we can break them into three major stages. The three major stages are glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transfer chain. Glycolysis happens in the cytoplasm, and the Krebs cycle and the electron transfer chain happen in the mitochondria. Here's a chart that shows the major characteristics of each stage of aerobic metabolism. I'm showing the major inputs and the major outputs. For the outputs, I'm listing the electron carrier outputs and the ATP outputs separately from the other output. Remember that the main function of aerobic metabolism is to generate ATP. The last column of the chart shows the ATP that's generated. As you can see, most of the ATP is generated in the electron transfer chain stage. However, in order to get to that point, you have to go through the other two stages first. Glycolysis breaks glucose down into pyruvate. The pyruvate then feeds into the Krebs cycle, which breaks it down into carbon dioxide. From the glycolysis stage, you get 2 molecules of ATP for every molecule of glucose that you break down. From the Krebs cycle, you get 2 molecules of ATP for every molecule of glucose that you started with. Both glycolysis and the Krebs cycle generate electron carrier molecules. We're not going to get too heavily into the details about those, but these electron carriers are called NADH and FADH2. In fact, you could say that the main output of the Krebs cycle is the electron carriers. It's the job of the final stage of aerobic metabolism, the electron transfer chain, to process those electron carriers. And in so doing, this produces a lot of ATP. It's important to recognize that the electron transfer chain depends on oxygen. It needs oxygen gas in order to run. And in the absence of oxygen, it cannot proceed. So when you have, in the absence of oxygen, you only get the 2 ATPs that were generated in the initial step of glycolysis. And the pyruvate then is converted to lactic acid, which then builds up in your muscles, causing a burning sensation. We actually have a discussion question about that this week. So that sums it up for aerobic metabolism. Thanks for watching.